Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be going over what I consider to be the best Tier 2 regular tech tree tanks in all of War Thunder. The vehicles on this list are going to be decided on several criteria, including armament, mobility, survivability, how they are relative to other tanks at their BR, and more. Please remember that this list is my opinion, though of course I have played for 12 plus years if that makes any difference. Experience fallacies aside, please let me know what your top Tier 2 tanks are and if I missed any that you would consider to be good enough to be in this list. Either way, let's get into it. And to start, we have the M4A1 Sherman. What can anyone say? With its current BR of 3.3, its good armor, good mobility, very good cannon, and stabilizer, the M4A1 Sherman is easily one of the best Shermans in War Thunder. It is currently the lowest BR of all of the standard Shermans, and features an HMG that is capable of destroying plenty of similar BR tanks, as well as, of course, its very good cannon, which can easily go through most tanks. Add in that aforementioned stabilizer, and you get an extremely versatile tank that can play in basically any role that you could ever want at this BR. For number 4, we have the Panzer IV Ausführung G, where the M4A1 Sherman is extremely versatile with few notable weaknesses. The Panzer IV Ausf G is extremely powerful in terms of armament, with decent mobility and improved armor over earlier variants, at least from the front. I actually picked this over the F2 variant because it has much more frontal armor, of which actually helps quite a bit, all while being at the same BR, at least currently. Plus you get one more smoke grenade, and you also have much more useful smoke grenade launchers. Now you could make an argument that it does have lower speed, but it's only very slight, and this is incredibly worth it for that extra 30mm of armor on the front. But the main selling point here is, and always will be, its excellent cannon, of which can pen through most tanks that it will fight with ease. If you don't mind the mediocre side in rear armor, the Panzer IV Ausführung G is quite possibly the most powerful tank on this list, though of course the others are going to be a bit more well-rounded. Now for number 3, we have the KV-1 L11. This is the lowest BR version of the KV-1, and is almost the exact opposite of the Panzer IV G. Instead of having an extremely powerful cannon and poor armor like the Panzer IV G, the KV-1 L11 has a mediocre cannon and excellent armor. In my opinion, however, this works slightly better for the KV-1 than the glass cannon setup works on the Panzer IV G. The reason being is that the L11 cannon on this KV-1 variant is still capable of destroying most enemy tanks, as most tanks at and around this BR either have noticeable weak spots or limited armor. The 75mm cannon on the Panzer IV G, however, is extreme overkill in most situations, which essentially allows you to click on an enemy to guarantee their death. The KV-1 L11, however, will require you to be a bit more mindful of where you place your shots against the enemy. This isn't too big of a problem, however, as its heavy armor allows you to get in close to enemies to destroy them while simultaneously being impervious to most shells that are going to be hitting you. At low BRs, that level of heavy armor benefits you more than the nuke cannon on the Panzer IV. Now for number 2, we have another Russian vehicle, the T-34 1940. This is very similar to the M4A1 Sherman, except that it has better armor, better mobility, a lesser cannon, and lacks a stabilizer. The T-34 1940 is, however, still at that nice and low 3.3 BR that allows its otherwise meh L11 cannon to flourish. Though it has less than 80mm of armor pen, this is sufficient at this BR, especially due to the fact that it has 150 grams of explosive filler equivalent with its BR 350A APHE VC shell. If that doesn't work, you have an optional solid shot BR 350 SP shell with 90mm of armor pen and somewhat decent post-pen damage. The armor and mobility of the T-34 at this BR, especially against newer players and especially when considering fabled areas on this tank like the driver's hatch, will make this vehicle feel like playing a heavy tank and a light tank at the same time. While the armor thickness on the stat card looks fairly low, this is deceptive, as the angling on this vehicle is fantastic, as new players and the Germans have all found out. While some weaknesses do exist, such as in the turret, many players around this BR are not aware of this, giving you you the ability to dominate when using this vehicle. This is easily a quintessential steel clubbing vehicle, at least if you know what I mean when I talk about steel clubbing and War Thunder. Now with that said, as with all of my top 5 video lists, here we are with the honorable mentions. And to start, we have the Panzer III Ausführung J1. This is kind of like a smaller version of the Panzer IV-G that I mentioned earlier in this video. It has lesser armor, a smaller cannon, lower armor pen, though still excellent for this BR at 106mm with its APC shell, and a lower BR. While this vehicle is great at its BR, the shells in my experience have a weird tendency to not pen as often as it seems like they should, especially considering their stats. Otherwise, this oddity aside, the Panzer III J1 is a fantastic little vehicle that is essentially a mix of light and medium tank gameplay. For number 2 on the honorable mentions, we have the Matilda III. This vehicle is somewhat like a lower BR British variant of the KV-1L11. It has excellent armor, fairly good armor pen, though poor post-pen damage, an excellent fire rate, a stabilizer, but is very, very slow. While it does have very heavy armor, it is still fairly easily defeatable by other tanks around this BR, whereas the KV-1 seems to be able to survive noticeably more hits despite its higher BR. Mix in mediocre post-pen damage due to firing a 40mm solid shot shell, and you have a very capable tank, but one that misses out on being in my top 5 for tier 2. And finally, for the honorable mentions, we have the M24 Chaffy. This is basically the light tank version of the M4A1 Sherman. It has a stabilizer, the same very good 75mm cannon, great mobility, a top-mounted MG, though it has mediocre armor and a higher BR. This reduced armor does allow this vehicle to be faster than the M4A1 listed earlier in this list, but this additional speed also contributes to a higher BR. While the Chaffy is very good, regardless of the tech tree that you use it in, being that it is in multiple tech trees, the most basic Sherman in-game, in my opinion, just slightly wins out due to its versatility advantage over the speedier M24 Chaffy. Now with that said, the moment we've been waiting for, number 1 on my top 5 tier 2 tank list, and that is the M4A3 105. This vehicle is, in my opinion, the king of tier 2 tanks. It has even better armor than the T-34 and M4A1 Sherman, at least when considering both its angling and armor thickness, and has a stronger armament and better BR placement, not to mention great mobility that beats the M4A1 Sherman and comes in a close second to the T-34 1940. Again, this is all with an even lower BR, as the M4A3 105 sits at 3.0, at least currently. This vehicle is always in down tiers, and even when not, it is easily able to make use of its great cannon and armor to overcome most enemies in up tiers with ease. This is due to its excellent 105mm M67 shot, which is pure heat pandemonium. Add in a top-mounted HMG, and you have what is essentially a heavy tank masquerading as a medium. It is absolutely wild how good this vehicle is, and how many shots you can tank before one pens you. The addition of smoke grenades and smoke shells are the cherry on top. The only real bad thing about this vehicle is the fact that the heat shells will detonate prematurely if they hit anything on their way to the enemy, be it a fence, a tree, or really anything else, which means that lower skilled players or less mindful players might have a difficult time while getting used to playing this vehicle. In my opinion, however, the M4A3 105 is the current king of tier 2 tanks. Now with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you guys think about this list in the comments below. I am genuinely interested to see your opinions on what my top 5 tier 2 vehicles are, as well as what your top 5 tier 2 vehicles are, if they differ in any way, if you would change the ordering of this list, or if I got everything correct. I am interested. By the way, thanks so much for watching. Please consider subscribing, as it means the world to me, and I make a ton of content much like this. But thank you, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.